Bella's scales shimmered violet under the sterile lights of the Interspecies Protocol Center, a physical manifestation of her anxiety. As a Zyrathian female, her body language was impossible to hide. Her species had evolved past deception millions of years ago. Right now, every crystalline scale on her serpentine form broadcast one emotion: dread. Subject B7749, please proceed to Integration Chamber 12. The automated voice announced in perfect galactic standard. She coiled her lower body tighter, her forearms clutching the datapad that had sealed her fate. The Breeding Accord, a desperate treaty signed by 47 species after the Convergence War, had decimated populations across 3 galactic quadrants. Her people, the Zyrathians, had lost 70% of their males. Humanity had lost entire colonies. The solution, according to the Galactic Council's xenobiologists, was cross-species genetic integration. The science was sound, the ethics were debatable, the reality was terrifying. Bella had read the reports about humans, aggressive, territorial, emotionally volatile primates from a death world called Earth. They had turned the tide of the war not through superior technology, but through sheer, incomprehensible stubbornness. When other species retreated, humans advanced. When logic dictated surrender, humans fought harder. And now she was supposed to let one of them father her offspring. The chamber doors hissed open. Bella's heat-sensitive vision immediately detected the warm-blooded figure standing by the observation window, a human male, his thermal signature burning bright compared to the cool-blooded species she was accustomed to. "You must be Bella," he said, his voice carrying none of the aggression she'd expected. "I'm Leo, Staff Sergeant Leo Chen, formerly of the Terran Fifth Fleet." She studied him cautiously. He was tall by human standards, with dark hair cropped close to his skull and eyes that held a weariness she recognized, the kind earned through surviving horrors. His military uniform was crisp, but he wore it with the casual ease of someone no longer bound by its authority. Scars traced along his neck, disappearing beneath his collar. "You're early," Bella said, her translator converting her harmonic frequencies into words he could understand. "Figured you might appreciate some time to talk before any of the clinical stuff." Leah gestured to the chairs positioned near the window overlooking the station's garden habitat. "No pressure. We can just sit if you want." This wasn't what she'd expected. The reports had said humans were impatient, demanding. Leo moved slowly, deliberately, maintaining distance. Bella cautiously uncoiled, her body extending to nearly 3 meters as she positioned herself near the window. Leo sat in a chair, keeping himself lower, less threatening. It was such a small gesture, but it meant everything. "You don't want this either," Bella observed. It wasn't a question. Leo's laugh was bitter. "Is it that obvious? No, I lost someone during the war, my wife Sarah. We were going to have kids after my deployment ended." He stared out at the artificial garden. "Then the Kreshtak hit our colony on New Perth. I was off-world. She wasn't." "I'm sorry," Bella said softly. Among Zyrathians, mate loss was a tragedy that could take decades to process. "The Accord seemed like a way to do something good with what's left," Leo continued. "Help restore populations, prevent extinction, honor the future Sarah wanted. But matching me with someone who's terrified," he shook his head. "That's not right. I told the administrators I'd wait, meet you first, see if maybe we could at least become friends before asking anything else." Bella's scales shifted from violet to a softer blue, cautious curiosity. "You delayed the protocol." "Indefinitely, if you want. The Accord says we have to try to make it work, but it doesn't specify a timeline. We could spend months just talking if that's what you need." For the first time since receiving her assignment, Bella felt something other than dread. Humans are supposed to be impatient. Humans are a lot of things. Patient isn't usually one of them, but Leo met her eyes, all 4 of them. "I spent 3 years in military boarding actions. You learn real quick that the most dangerous thing you can do is rush into a room without knowing what's inside. This, he gestured between them, this is the most important room I've ever walked into. I'm not going to rush. Over the following weeks, they met daily. Not in the clinical integration chambers, but in the gardens, the observation decks, the cultural exchange centers. Leo taught Bella about Earth, its chaotic weather, its impossible biodiversity, its fractured but passionate humanity. Bella shared Zyrathian philosophy, their mathematical poetry, their understanding of time as a spiral rather than a line. She learned that Leo carried a small wooden box containing soil from Sarah's grave. He learned that Bella had been a temporal mathematician before the war, calculating probability streams across quantum decision trees. They discovered shared grief, shared hope, and something neither had expected, genuine affection. "Tell me honestly," Bella asked one evening as they watched ships arrive and depart from the station. "Does it bother you, my appearance? Humans have such specific aesthetic preferences." Leo considered the question seriously. "Do you know what Sarah looked like?" "No." He pulled up a hologram, a woman with dark skin, brilliant smile, and eyes full of mischief. "Beautiful, right? But if you'd asked me to describe my type before I met her, I would have described someone completely different. Preferences are just starting points. Connection is what actually matters." He looked at Bella, his expression earnest. "Your scales catch light in ways that make me think of opals. You move like water and music had a child. And when you're excited about explaining some temporal math concept I barely understand, your scales go this incredible gold color. That's beautiful. You're beautiful. Not despite being Zyrathian, just beautiful." Bella's scales flushed gold, proving his point. 3 months into their partnership, Bella found Leo in the station's human-compatible gym, running on a machine that simulated terrain. His shirt was soaked with sweat, his breathing labored. "This seems like suffering," she observed. "It is," he gasped, "but it helps, keeps the memories from getting too loud." "Show me." "What?" "Show me how humans process trauma. I want to understand." So Leo taught her about physical exertion as emotional regulation. Bella, in turn, taught him Zyrathian meditation techniques that involved solving complex mathematical equations while in altered states of consciousness. They created their own hybrid therapy, running through probability calculations, lifting weights while discussing temporal philosophy. They were healing together. 6 months after their first meeting, in the same chamber where they'd introduced themselves, Bella coiled comfortably near Leo, her scales a content azure. "I've made a decision," she said. Leo tensed slightly. "Okay." "The accord requires genetic integration. I've been reviewing the xenobiology reports, the success rates, the procedures." She reached out with one of her 4 hands, gently touching his scarred knuckles. "I don't dread it anymore. Not with you." "Bella, you don't have to." "I know, that's why I want to. Not because the accord demands it, because you've shown me what humanity really is. Not the war reports, not the propaganda. You've shown me patience, kindness, genuine partnership. You've mourned with me, laughed with me, grown with me." She shifted closer. "I was afraid because I thought I'd be treated as a vessel, a duty. But you've treated me as a person, as a friend, as someone worthy of care." Her scales rippled through a rainbow of emotions. "I don't dread this anymore because somewhere along the way, I stopped seeing you as the human I was assigned to and started seeing you as Leo, the man who carries soil from his wife's grave, who does mathematical meditation, who makes terrible jokes about quantum mechanics." Leo's eyes glistened. "Sarah would have liked you. She always said I needed someone who could outthink me." "I'm not replacing her." "I know that's not how this works." He took Bella's hand carefully. "We're both building something new from broken pieces. That's not replacement, that's transformation." The integration process was nothing like Bella had feared. The medical teams were respectful, the procedures as comfortable as xenobiology allowed. Leo never left her side, holding her hand through every step, whispering terrible math jokes that made her scales flicker with amusement even during the most clinical moments. 9 months later, nearly identical to human gestation despite their biological differences, Bella laid 3 crystalline eggs in a temperature-controlled chamber. Leo sat beside her through the 30-hour process, reading aloud from both human literature and Zyrathian probability texts. When the eggs hatched, they produced hybrid offspring unlike anything either species had seen, children with Bella's scales and Leo's warm blood, with 4 arms and human facial features, with the ability to see both in thermal and visual spectrums. The xenobiologists celebrated the successful integration. But Leo and Bella simply marveled at their children. 3 impossible lives born from 2 broken people who'd chosen to rebuild together. "What do we call them?" Leo asked, cradling one infant whose scales shifted colors with each breath. Bella hummed thoughtfully, her scales a brilliant gold. "On Zyrath, we name children after probability outcomes for the future they might create. On Earth, usually something meaningful, family names sometimes. Then let's combine it, probability and meaning." She gazed at their children. "Futures we didn't think possible until we made them real." They named their children Hope, Chance, and Tomorrow. And in a galaxy still healing from war, 2 grieving souls, one human, one Zyrathian, proved that the future could be built not through dread or duty, but through patience, understanding, and the courage to open one's heart to the impossible. The breeding accord had been designed to save species from extinction. But for Bella and Leo, it had done something more. It had reminded them both that even in the darkest times, connection could transform fear into love and strangers into family.